Hello, everyone. Welcome to my show. Autumn is here. I'm your host, Francine Crawford. And today we have a guest that was here before, Ms. Marilyn Raichel, who is the Executive Director of Maud's Awards. And I'm so glad to have her here because she's been busy working and she's been busy furthering her cause with helping people with Alzheimer and dementia. And we just want to know what she's doing next. So let's welcome her to the show. Hi, Maud. I'm sorry.
Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Good. I'm so glad that I'm able to talk to you again because I know that you've been very busy. But right now, also, Maud's Awards, you're very busy with that.
Maud's Awards. We're in the process of selecting the winners. That'll be selected the 6th of September. We had 165 applicants this year.
Awesome.
Yeah, big. So the board's been really working hard. So we're going through everything. And then I will be contacting every single applicant.
All right. Awesome. So even if they didn't win,
if they didn't win, I will be contacting them.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. And will they have a chance to do it again? To be able to
if people have applied, people can apply again, but just not a carbon copy of the same application.
Okay, right.
Usually it's sort of like what's new, what have you been up to, how is it adapting, how is it growing, just give us new information. It won't open again until March of 2025.
Okay. So just in case, refresh us on exactly the criteria for Maud's Awards to submit for that.
So Maud's Awards is interesting. Maud's Awards, Richard Ferry, who founded Maud's Awards and also Maud's Ventures. Maud's Awards is for achievements in programs and activities that are making life better for people who are living with dementia. And they come in these 4 categories of making connections, bringing people together, supporting care partners, cultivating health. And then the tricky one is treating by design, creating environments that are conducive to a better life living with dementia. And that includes things like clothing that is easy to put on, includes living environments. It's really broad. So it's an interesting category. And so every year, and it'll open again next March. And so every year we give away $100,000 to organizations. 3 organizations each get $25,000, and then 5 individuals each get $5,000 to reward them for their achievements. And then Maud's Ventures is for things that should happen. And they give away about $150,000 every year as seed money for programs that really should happen, that are creating better lives for people living with dementia. So Richard Ferry is a very busy man.
Well, that's awesome. So now we hear that you have something that has come out that supports caregiving and supports dementia. So please tell us about your new book. It's very exciting.
Yeah, so I have been working on this book for a very long time, and finally it is done. It is on Amazon now, and it's called excuse me, Don't Walk Away, a Care Partner's Journey. And it's called Don't Walk Away because Mother always told us, I'm one of 5 kids. She said, if we get Alzheimer's, I want you to walk away. We're not going to remember you. So don't sacrifice your lives for us and walk away. And we all believed her.
Right.
And then she started to paint. And very quickly I realized, oh, I see. She's still here. She's still living with invention and wit. And it completely upended everything Mom had told me. So the book is called Don't Walk Away. You will be rewarded. It is the most rewarding thing I have ever done, being Mom's care partner.
Awesome. So then you didn't walk away, and by not walking away, you were able to look at your mom in a different way.
Well, I did walk away at the beginning because she lived with Alzheimer's for 14 years. Mm-hmm. And at the beginning, when she was developing dementia, we pretty much decided, okay, she's right. A life with dementia is best left ignored. And she grew up in this very odd Scottish Calvinist family that regarded anything having to do with illness, death, something to be ignored. Mm-hmm. You're supposed to just ignore, just walk away. And so we all did. And so when I became Mother's very reluctant care partner, this was not what I had planned on. I had just come back from graduate school, and it was during the Depression, and there were no jobs. So I became Mom's and Dad's also full-time care partner. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't something I wanted to do. And I always heard in the back of my mind, walk away, walk away. Mom said, walk away. But, I couldn't do that. And then when my father died, they'd been married for 74 years. When he died, she was so bored that I took her to this painting class for people living with dementia at her very nice continuing care facility called Horizon House. And she didn't expect anything. She said, I don't do this. It's stupid. And we didn't expect anything. But her painting was astonishing. And I wanted to see more. So I kept going back and back and back more and more often, wanting to see her paintings. And they effortlessly communicated the fact that people living with dementia are still here. Mm-hmm. She was still painting these amazing things. And when I say, oh, Mom, you're painting such wonderful things, she said, I don't do this. I didn't do that. I must have gotten this from your father's side of the family. And yet the painting was extraordinary. So I suddenly switched. Instead of, at the beginning, I wasn't seeing Mom. I was only seeing loss. I wasn't hearing the thought. I was only hearing confusion. And with the paintings, I suddenly started looking at Mom and hearing Mom and enjoying doing something with Mom that sharing joy with someone really does open your eyes and your heart and your soul to the person who's there. And so it was only after I realized this, because I had walked away pretty much, but I walked right back because of the art. And then I rediscovered Mom. And she was so much fun. At the beginning, I only went once a week, okay, I'm seeing Mom once a week. Okay. But now I wanted to see her all the time. It was like restful. I wanted to see her. It was one of the most important things I did. It was restful to go and visit Mom. And I quickly realized one really interesting thing. One is I let go of the person who used to be, who at least I felt used to be. And I embraced the woman who was with me in the moment. Okay. And I also just assumed that, of course, Mother looks forward to my visits. I'm her daughter. And I soon realized that she had another family where she lived in assisted living. That was her new family. And lucky for me, they were willing to accept me as a member of their family. So I had 6 adopted new mothers. And they were absolutely delightful. All these singularly interesting human beings. And every time I got there, I would give everyone shoulder massages. And I'd always ask permission, but I would give them shoulder massages and they would go, ah. Mm-hmm. And one time I got the best compliment I've ever received in my entire life from Gloria. She turned to me and she said, do you tuck your wings in a handkerchief when you're not here?
Oh, that's so sweet.
I mean, it was just everything. If you are lucky enough, and this is one of the reasons I wrote the book, is for beginning caregivers, it's really important to understand that there is hope and that you can live with joy and you can live with purpose if you know how to support them. For people who are in the midst of a caregiving journey, it's a chance to sort of relax and be recognized and to laugh, because these are very funny stories. This is an unusual book about Alzheimer's. It's very funny, and it's quite joyous. And it was this moment for me to understand so many things. Every day I learned something new, every day. Mm-hmm. And every day I realized that Mom, the story of the book is all illustrated by her art, which is fascinating. But it's also told as Mother lived in moments. And she quickly forgot the moments, but they were always filled with laughter. And for me, I joined her. And together we navigated a life with late stage dementia. And together we built a life together. And I remember the time that I realized I was her partner, because I had sort of forgotten Mom at the beginning, because I had made a new industry. My new profession was the art. I was doing art exhibits, and I was sharing the art with people who were always so happy to experience a story about Alzheimer's with joy. Mm-hmm. And I must admit, it's not a nice thing to say about myself, but I would go there, I would get the art, and then I would take the art home and start working to amplify its message. And then one day I noticed that her artwork was starting to deteriorate, the same scratchy lines and the same colors. And it looked to me as if she was losing interest. Mm-hmm. And so one day I got there early, and we did everything she liked to do. We looked at the view. We played Scrabble. We always played Scrabble. We did everything she loved to do. And then I took her to the painting class, and her painting completely changed. Warm animal images, and the painting, the colors themselves changed. And I went, oh, I see. Another moment for me to go, I see. We're partners. We're in this together. Yeah. So that was the beginning of my true journey as her care partner. And that went on for the next 9 years. And it was just, it is the most rewarding thing I've ever done.
It's wonderful how you can find joy in that. And I guess your message to caregivers, you have to look at it a different way sometimes and find the joy in it while you're doing, because it's a very difficult task to do. Well, some in your book, it is pretty funny, and there are certain things.
Well, it can be music.
I felt bad about laughing, but
no, Mother made me laugh.
Your mother kept telling him to stand up and she can do it. She can help him get up or whatever, and he kept falling. It was like, okay, her mind was like, I can do this. You can stand up. He was in the wheelchair, but she was like, okay, no. In her mind, get up. So it's how you meet them where they're at, but then sometimes, it could be something that is like really not real, but to her, you can stand up, get up, and he would always fall down. Luckily, he didn't break anything. But
that's right. Mother made me laugh on her deathbed.
Oh, really?
And that's not easy to do. She grew up in this in the Depression to a Republican banking family, and they hated Franklin Delano Roosevelt. Couldn't stand him. And every time she heard the word Roosevelt, she'd go, we didn't like him. And I go, I know. And so this went on and on and on. And they looked down at the Roosevelt Hotel, named for Teddy, but that didn't matter. And I'm jumping way ahead here, but when she was 96, her blood sugar spiked to 600, and it stayed there. And we took her to the hospital because that was really dangerous, and expecting she'd be better soon. But her colon had burst. And so we put her in a coma, which is what she would have liked because she was 96. And they gave her 5 days to live. And so my brother and sister and I were standing around her, and we're singing to her, and we're telling her we love her. And more for us than for her. I don't think my sister and brother thought she was actually hearing us. And I mentioned her dislike of the Roosevelt Hotel, and Mom flinched. She's in a coma. She flinched. And I wanted to stand over her going, Roosevelt, 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 just to check, but I didn't. But I realized she could hear me, and she understood me. So for the next 2 days, I sat next to her and held her hand and talked. Mm. But I never mentioned Roosevelt again. Yeah. But it was her her family, my new family, my aunts and my new adopted mothers, every day they did something wonderful. Every day we shared something wonderful. And for anybody who it's the act of sharing joy that opens your eyes and opens your heart. Because if you don't think that living a life with dementia is valuable, that people who have dementia have valuable lives are worth, so many people say, oh, well, it doesn't matter if they die because, they had dementia. But people who live with dementia are valuable, wonderful people, able to live with joy and purpose, but only if you have the ability to support them with love and frankly, with a facility that nurtures them. And that costs money. And one of the reasons I actually wrote the book, it's like for everybody who thinks that living with dementia they have no value, read this book. They do, and they're worthy of our support. And we as people, but also as a society, should be supporting them. And we're not. So it's sort of like, come on, guys, we need to do this. And walk with Mom, and you'll see that these are glorious people. Mm-hmm. And it's just, and so the singing and the walking and even the Scrabble was very funny because we played Scrabble every day. Even when she couldn't make words, we still played Scrabble. We would add up the scores because she was very competitive. And it didn't matter. But she did teach me. She was always teaching me something. You know how you hear people say, well, I became the mother and she became the daughter. Mm-hmm. I never felt that way with Mom. She was always my mother. Okay. She was always teaching me something. And so we were playing Scrabble one day and she was having a hard time. She asked me if dog was a word and having a hard time. And all of a sudden she stopped and she looked at me and she said, sometimes your brain just gets in the way. And then she made Jewel on the triple for 59 points. And so now when I have a hard time coming to a decision about something, I'll stop. And I'll go, sometimes your brain just gets in the way. And then it'll come to me. It's just, so the book is sort of filled with everything I learned about being a care partner. And there's simple things. I mean, asking questions, listening, smiling. I didn't ask her questions. She kept telling me, what do I think Seattle's going to be like in 50 years? And I came up with little ideas of what it would be like. And then all of a sudden I thought, she keeps asking this, so it must be important to her. So finally I asked her, well, what do you think it's going to be like? And then the floodgates opened and all of a sudden these wonderful ideas came out. She said, well, maybe we'll all fly. Mm-hmm. And just idea after idea after idea. Again, it's just trust them. I used to say, let her start the conversation and hop on for the ride, but listen and ask questions and slow down. That was really hard for me, slowing down. But it was just all these, and it turns out at the very end, I realized everything that makes life better for people living with dementia does the same thing for everybody everywhere. Listening, not putting yourself first. It's not about you. Right. It's about them. It's just, so it was just this eye-opening vision into how to live a life. And I wouldn't have had that if it hadn't been for Mom. And I wouldn't have had that if it hadn't been the opportunity for us to experience joy together.
The process of doing this, the process of, going back and remembering things and putting it together, how did that make you feel? Oh,
well, actually, it was fun. It was fun. I wrote down every time I came home, excuse me, I'd write down every single thing we did and said together so I wouldn't forget it. And then I had her wonderful, fabulous art as a guide. I mean, her art was so interesting, but I loved going back and reliving it all.
You love it.
And when Mom died, I would still go back and visit all my adopted mothers because it was so restful. It was so peaceful and they were so much fun. It was, writing a book is fun. Marketing a book isn't, but writing a book is a lot of fun. And it also just enabled me to realize how much I'd grown. Because I grew up in this really competitive family where I used to say from fists clenched to hands open. That's what Mother taught me. But then she taught me so many things. It was just, and it's, people are always surprised when I say that my mother, who lived with dementia till she was 96, taught me so many things. She taught me how to live. And she was so funny. She laughed at everything. But my father, on the other hand, who had Parkinson's and dementia, he was not that happy sort that mother was. And I realized there's a thing at the end of the book where you say, if I knew then what I know now, there are different things for different people. With Dad, I could have just been there. I could have just sat with him to make him realize that he wasn't going to be abandoned. I could have given him a shoulder massage. I could have brought him his favorite food, like cashew nuts. I could have brought him pictures of everything he did with us and for us. Could have just calmed down. I could have told him I loved him, which wasn't a word we used in our family, but it was different with Dad, but I hadn't been through my experience with Mom before Dad died. So I wasn't able to put that into practice, and I wish I had. There were rules in our family. You were not allowed to cry when someone died. You were not allowed to have funerals, and you were not allowed to have memorial services. And I asked Mom once, I said, Mom, there's no evidence that any of you have ever died. As far as we can tell, when you hit 95, you go back to Scotland to play golf. So why don't you have funerals and why don't you have memorial services? And she said, well, it's considered showy.
Okay.
So when Mom died, we did have a memorial service, and I got up when it was my time to speak, and a younger sister and her cousin Frank, they were all in their 90s. They were in the front row, and I said, I realize that this is showy. And they both looked at me like this. They were not happy. And I realized it at one point with absolute panic that I was about to cry, which I couldn't do. So every ounce of strength, I pushed those tears away, and I got off as fast as I could because I couldn't cry in front of my aunt and my cousin. It was just not done.
Yeah.
I couldn't eat for 3 weeks, but I didn't cry. But it was they were a wonderful family. They loved each other dearly, but there were rules.
Right. So at some point when you were by yourself, did you cry and get that out? Really? Wow.
No, these lessons went deep. And I didn't cry. I guess not eating was my way of crying, but
Wow.
it was I probably could cry now, but I didn't then.
What do you hope for this book as far as helping people?
I hope people read it. Number one, I hope they read it and they have fun, that they enjoy it, that they see that there's joy there. And I hope that for the vast, vast majority of people who don't think that a life with dementia is worth living, I hope they can see that it is, if we know how to support them. And for anyone who's a caregiver right now, hope. There's hope. You can live with joy, and it's going to be okay. People love you and will listen to you, and we hear you. And it's all about hope. There is hope.
There is hope. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for sharing your story and opening up your world to us about dementia. It's so many different ways that this affects people, and you were able to put yours into a story and share it with other people. So it's wonderful. The pictures are beautiful. It's an expression of your mom. Whatever she
Yeah.
was feeling or thinking at that time is what was coming out. So that
Yeah.
was great, to be able to do that and have her to do that, and do it, like you said, effortlessly.
Yeah. Effortless.
It was just a part of her. So, and that's something new for you to experience with her.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was awesome. So thank you for sharing your journey with your mom and the experience. Your book. Don't My light went off. Don't walk away. Sorry.
Don't walk away.
Don't walk away, and you didn't walk away. And it's wonderful, wonderful that you were able to be able to do this and share this with people and encourage other people that there may be a different way of looking at dementia
Hmm.
and being a caregiver, and look at it with joy, So
And for everybody who has already walked away, I hope this will be a nudge to reconsider.
yes, yes, yes.
Not too late.
It's not too late. It's not too late. Yes, that's awesome. So thank you so much, Marilyn. I appreciate you for sharing your story and taking the time on Autumn is Here to just be able to allow us to have another insight into someone else's life who took care of someone with Alzheimer's. And especially yours are so joyous, and you enjoy doing it. So thank you so much. I appreciate it.
And thank you. Thank you so much.
Okay.